My beloved friend, if you are waking up between the hours of 3 a.m. and 5 a.m., do not call it insomnia, do not call it restlessness, call it a summons. Waking up between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. is not a random event. It is not some fluke of the body or an unfortunate twist of your sleep schedule. It is a calling, a moment carefully chosen, a moment handpicked by something greater than you. While the rest of the world sleeps in silence, you are stirred, not by anxiety, not by a bad dream, but by a voice that calls out from the deepest part of your being. It's not a coincidence, it's a divine interruption. The kind of interruption that doesn't demand your attention with noise, but rather awakens you in stillness. Why is it that in this very hour the air feels different, time feels slower, quieter, as if everything has paused, just so your spirit can speak? This is no ordinary time. You've been pulled from your sleep so you can rise, not just from your bed, but from your doubts, from your fears, from your indifference. This is the sacred space where heaven leans closer, where your soul is no longer buried under the weight of the day's distractions. There is a whisper in this hour, a gentle, holy invitation, but only those who are willing to listen can hear it. Because at 3 a.m., there are no notifications, no meetings, no crowds demanding your attention. There is only you and your Maker, only you and the truth. In that moment the mask falls. There's no pretending in this hour. Your soul is awake and exposed, and it's hungry for something more than comfort. It's hungry for purpose. You're being called to rise above the noise, not just the noise of the outside world, but the noise in your own mind, the constant chatter, the doubts, the fears, the lies you've told yourself for far too long. All of that is stripped away when you're alone at that hour. That's when your spirit begins to speak. That's when God begins to whisper. You've spent your days chasing answers in chaos, and now, finally, He has your full attention. So when your eyes open in the middle of the night and everything in you says, go back to sleep, ask yourself, what if this moment was chosen for me? What if I was meant to wake now, not for stress, not for worry, but for alignment? What if I've been pulled from my rest so I can finally rise into the life I've been too busy, too tired, too afraid to live? You are not waking by accident. This is not insomnia. It is invitation. It is a holy disruption, a moment not meant to disturb you but to direct you. Because sometimes the most important conversations you'll ever have won't happen during the day. They'll happen when the world is silent and heaven is speaking. Between the hours of 3 a.m. and 5 a.m., something extraordinary happens, something the busy world never talks about. In these early morning hours, when the streets are quiet and the noise of the world has come to a halt, your soul awakens before the world does. There is no distraction pulling you in 10 different directions, no competition demanding your energy, no deadlines, no notifications, no voices trying to shape your identity, just silence. Just stillness. Just you and the truth you've been running from all day. This is the hour when your mind hasn't yet been clouded by the chaos of the day. When your heart is still tender, still raw, still open. It hasn't put on its armor yet. It hasn't been bruised by disappointment or distracted by scrolling screens. In this hour there is space, pure, undiluted space, for your thoughts to breathe, for your heart to speak, and for your spirit to receive what it cannot hear during the noise of daylight. So many people spend their days wondering why they feel disconnected, why they feel lost or numb. They try to solve it with noise, with movement, with more. But the answers they are looking for aren't found in the noise. They are found in silence, in the sacred early morning hours where your soul is fully awake, while the world is still asleep. This is not just about waking early. It's about recognizing that you've been given a rare moment of clarity, a moment when your spirit can rise before anything else does. It's in these moments that ideas come without force, that peace flows without effort, that direction is whispered without confusion, because the spirit doesn't scream, it speaks gently, it speaks when it has room. When the competition is gone, when there is no need to perform, no need to compare, no need to pretend, when you rise in this window of time, you're not just waking up physically, you're waking up spiritually. You're stepping into a moment where heaven aligns with earth, where the unseen becomes clear, where the noise dies so the truth can live. The most successful people in history, the most grounded souls, the most peaceful minds, they all understood this, that victory is often born in the moments no one else sees. When you're up before the world, you're not just ahead in time, you're ahead in wisdom, in peace, in purpose. It's not just about productivity, it's about presence. It's about meeting your day before the world has a chance to dictate it. It's about filling your cup before others come asking you to pour into theirs. It's about connecting with God, with your soul, with your reason for being, before anything else tries to define it for you. Between 3 and 5 a.m., the world hasn't touched you yet, and that untouched version of you, that version has clarity, power, and purity. That version is the closest to your purpose, the most honest with your heart, the most aligned with the divine. When you wake up in the still hours between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m., your first instinct might be to reach for your phone, to check the time, the messages, the world outside of you. But that moment, right there, is your test. It's your invitation to do something different, to choose your soul over your screen. Instead of grabbing your phone, grab your heart. Let your first action be one of intention, not reaction. Because this window of time is sacred, it is not meant to be filled with distraction. It is meant to be filled with connection. There is a depth in these hours that the rest of the day cannot offer. The noise of the world has not yet arrived. The burdens of yesterday are already fading, and the worries of tomorrow have not yet begun to speak. This is your hour to pray, not just with words, but with sincerity, with brokenness, with raw honesty. Prayer in this time doesn't have to be eloquent. It has to be real. It is your moment to speak with the one who knows you, sees you, hears you. When the world does not, it is not about ritual. It is about relationship. About turning inward to speak with the divine, to be reminded that you are not alone, that you are seen and guided even when you feel lost. After prayer, reflect. Sit with your thoughts, write them down. Don't judge them, don't edit them. Let the truth spill onto the page. Let your heart show you what it's carry. In grief, hope, fear, gratitude, confusion, let it all out. These moments of reflection are not weakness. They are strength, because clarity begins where honesty lives, and there is no better time for honesty than when the world is silent and you are fully awake. This time is also your chance to reconnect with who you are, with what you believe, with the person you were meant to become. So much of life is spent reacting, chasing deadlines, fulfilling responsibilities, pleasing people. But between 3 and 5 a.m., you're not required to be anything to anyone. You don't have to perform, you just have to be. And in that being, in that quiet space, your purpose begins to stir. Your path becomes clearer. The flame that's been flickering inside of you gets its oxygen back. When you make this time a habit, something incredible happens. Your inner world becomes stronger than the outer world. You begin your day not from a place of chaos, but from calm. You don't just respond to life, you shape it. Your thoughts become aligned, your energy becomes focused. Your actions begin to reflect your values, not your distractions. And the more often you meet yourself in these sacred hours, the more impossible it becomes to live a life that is disconnected from your truth. So when you wake in the dark, don't waste the moment, don't fill it with noise, fill it with meaning. Use it to pray, to reflect, and to reconnect with everything that makes your life worth living. Discipline doesn't begin when the world is watching. It doesn't come to life under the spotlight or during applause. True discipline starts in the dark, when no one is around, when there are no rewards, no recognition, no audience. It begins in the quiet, uncomfortable moments when you choose to do what's right over what's easy. It begins when the alarm rings before the sun rises, and you make the decision to rise too, not because you have to, but because you said you would. In the hours between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m., the world is asleep, and the temptation to stay in comfort is strong. The bed is warm, the room is silent, and every excuse to stay still feels justified. But champions are not made in moments of ease. They are forged in moments of resistance, in the decision to get up when no one will ever know. In the quiet commitment to show up for yourself again and again, even when nothing around you is demanding it. When you train yourself to move in the dark, to work when it's inconvenient, to focus when there's no competition, you begin to build a strength that is unshakable. Because the greatest victories are born from unseen battles, the kind that happen before the day even begins, the kind that don't get posted or praised, but leave a permanent mark on your character. It's easy to be consistent when there's pressure, when there's praise, when someone is keeping score. But when you're alone in the silence and you still choose growth, still choose movement, still choose purpose, that is discipline in its purest form. To rise early is not just about time management, it's about mindset. It's about training your spirit to lead your body. It's about saying, I won't be ruled by how I feel. I will be led by what I've chosen. Because when you rise early, you rise above. Above the doubt, above the procrastination, above the excuses that kept you small for too long. You start living life on your terms, not life that's reacting to pressure, but one that is shaped by purpose. Most people wait until the world tells them it's time to move. Champions don't wait. They move first. They create momentum in silence. They prepare when no one is looking so they can stand strong when everyone is watching. They understand that discipline is not a single act. It's a lifestyle. It's what you do when no one claps, when no one checks, when no one cares. Yet you do it anyway because you care. In the dark, there are no shortcuts, no tricks, no pretending. Just you and the choice to rise. That's where the real transformation happens. Not under the lights, but in the shadows. And every time you choose to rise early, you make a quiet statement to the universe. I am not here to blend in. I am here to rise above. There is a reason this early hour feels different. Between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m., the world slows down to a sacred stillness. The noise fades, the air seems to pause, and time moves more gently. It is in this quiet that something holy begins to stir, not in the grand, thunderous way we sometimes expect, but in a soft, almost whispering presence. This hour is not just early, it is sacred, it is a gift. And like all gifts of value, it must be guarded fiercely. You don't stumble into peace, you create it. And this time, before the sun breaks the horizon, offers you a chance to meet peace in its rawest, purest form. Not forced, not filtered, just real. It is here that your heart beats slower, your thoughts become clearer, and the deepest parts of you begin to surface. There is no rush, no pressure, no noise demanding your attention. Only space, space to feel, to breathe, to receive, but it is fleeting. It does not last forever. That is why you must treat it as sacred. Many people waste this time without even knowing it. They wake, sense the stillness, and then reach for their phone, check their messages, scroll through distractions, but in doing so, they miss the miracle. They miss the opportunity to hear the voice that doesn't compete with chaos, the voice that speaks in calm. Heaven doesn't shout, it whispers, and this hour is when that whisper is the loudest. To guard this time means to honor it with your attention, to sit in silence and simply be, to close your eyes and feel the presence of something greater than yourself. To feel gratitude rise not because everything is perfect, but because you are alive, aware, and awake in a world that often runs on autopilot. Gratitude in this hour doesn't come from big gestures. It comes from simple realization. The realization that you've been given another chance to be intentional, to be whole, to be in touch with your soul. You may not hear answers right away. You may not even feel anything dramatic, but do not mistake quiet for emptiness. Something powerful is taking place. Your mind is aligning, your heart is centering, your purpose is being renewed. This clarity is not available in the busyness of the day. It only comes in the stillness before the world wakes up. And once you taste that clarity, you begin to understand why it must be protected. You can let the day dictate your pace, or you can use this hour to define it. The difference between a life that is rushed and one that is rooted often begins with what you do in these sacred moments. If you treat them casually, they will slip away. But if you honor them, if you show up with stillness, presence, and gratitude, they will transform you, not all at once, but steadily, quietly, deeply, and that transformation will reach into every corner of your life. There is a certain kind of power that belongs to those who rise early. Not just the physical act of getting out of bed, but rising in spirit, rising in thought, rising in intention. Between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m., when the world is still and silent, a unique opportunity is given to those who dare to wake. It's not just about being ahead of the clock, it's about being ahead in clarity, in focus, in strength. Because those who wake early lead early, and the world, knowingly or not, ends up following those who have already stepped into their purpose before the rest have even opened their eyes. To wake early is to claim a territory of time that most people never touch. While others sleep through it, you're building your mind, grounding your heart, preparing your path. In those hours, there are no crowds, no competition, just you and the calling that waits patiently for your attention. Leadership doesn't begin when others see you, it begins when you choose to see yourself clearly, and that vision is sharpest when the noise of the world has not yet taken hold. Those who lead are not always the loudest. They're the most prepared, the ones who take the time to understand themselves before trying to guide others, the ones who practice discipline not for the sake of appearance, but because they understand that consistency in private becomes influence in public. Waking early is an act of leadership because it demands ownership. Ownership of your time, your thoughts, your growth. It's a refusal to be reactive, a declaration that you will not start your day in chaos, but in clarity. The most impactful leaders are not just ahead in knowledge or strategy, they are ahead in presence. When you wake early, you arrive into your day already anchored, already calm, already aware of your direction. And others feel that, they are drawn to it, because while the world is scrambling for answers, you've already listened in silence and found yours. That kind of leadership isn't forced, it flows. It doesn't need to shout, it speaks with quiet authority. But this isn't about superiority, it's about service. True leadership is rooted in the desire to lift others, not just oneself. And you can't lift anyone if you yourself are running on empty, on confusion, on a lack of connection to who you are. When you rise early, you fill your own well first. You take time to reflect, to pray, to align your spirit with the truth. And that alignment becomes a foundation that others can lean on. Every morning you choose to rise early, you're choosing to lead. Maybe not a crowd, maybe not a company, but your own life. And that is where all leadership begins. Before anyone sees the fruit, there was always a root. And that root grew in the dark, in the quiet, when no one was watching. Be that leader, not because the world asked for it, but because you were called to it. And the moment you answer that call, everything begins to shift.